As always, while I'm playing, I invite you to write the emotions you're feeling. Music is all about connecting from my heart to yours. What are you feeling when you listen to this music? It's really the most important thing. Hopefully that wasn't too soft. Thank you. Those of you with a dog at home, if you could write your dog's name or your plural dog's names, that would be great. And that may sound familiar to you if you have the free playlist at My Zen Pet, because I actually arranged that for dogs. And thank you so much for the floating hearts. Star, if you could put the link to My Zen Pet, that'd be great. I have a free playlist there that works to calm the canine nervous system and relieve anxiety issues, but it works for people too. Right? It's okay if we share, because what gets transferred down the other end of the leash is important. And Bagel, Star's new rescue dog, is listening to it. Glad he's enjoying it. Going into a much bigger work, the longest work on the program. Those of you who've been following me since I started this series, March 28th, know that this is one of my favorites. This is the Brahms arrangement of the Bach Chaconne for violin. So it's a very, very famous piece for violin. And Brahms wrote it for Clara Schumann, his love interest, so to speak, when she had tendinitis in her right hand. And I just so love this piece, I can't even tell you. It's one of these pieces that makes me feel so fortunate to have that huge injury to my hand when I broke, and I had 7 fractures and had 4 surgeries, because I didn't know this piece before that. I knew there's another arrangement of the Bach Chaconne by Bisogni, which I knew, but I didn't know the left hand only. So it takes a few deep breaths and enjoy this. This is what I play every morning. This is what just centers me, just really, really centers me. So enjoy, and again, you're always welcome to write the comments how you're feeling about this music when your emotions that you're experiencing as you listen. So much. And thank you to Clara Schumann for injuring her right hand so that Brahms wrote that piece for her. I just love that piece, and it's hard for me to see all the comments coming in, but I will respond to them all later, and I look forward to hearing what emotions you were experiencing while you listen to that. So those of you who are new, the hearts, the floating emojis are the silent applause. I've been doing this for 7-8 months now, and I love them. They're just freed my soul, so thank you. I would love to hear from you. So I'm going to tell you a little more about what we're doing. We're recording for two purposes. One is I wanted to get a better recording, so what you're hearing is mono. Adam is on the other end of the piano with his mic set up here, recording in stereo for two purposes. He's going to match this visual with his audio, and that's part of the rewards that I'm going to be offering you. So Star, who is my on my team, and first of all, a big shout out to Star. Star is in Michigan. We've never met personally, but she's my virtual assistant, and she is just a rock star with digital media, and she is, if you could post the page, Star, you probably already have, with both the new Left Hand Lemonade pages on the website. She did those, and just Star, thank you so much. And she's here monitoring this. She's monitoring Crowdcast in case anyone shows up. She's multitasking everywhere. So Star, thank you. And she's posting the rewards. And so one of the rewards is a professional recording of this, a video recording, because he's matching his sound with my visual. The other purpose is for the album Left Hand Lemonade. This was decided at 11:30 last night. We talked about this. It's like I was gonna have him come later and do this, and raise the money to record Left Hand Lemonade. It's like I just am a risk taker. I go for it. Let's just do this live and see what happens, with the hopes of experiencing. Some of this might go directly into albums. Some of it may require some editing. Some of it I may let go of my perfectionism and just accept it. And I'm quite proud of that last performance of the Brahms Chaconne. I've done that several times here, and that was my best. So we'll see what we get. But this is all turning into an album, a physical CD and music on streaming channels called Left Hand Lemonade, and that's what I'm raising funds for and offering you all sorts of perks and rewards. And so I'll leave that up to Star to post that. So one of the things I'd like to know from you about that recording, those of you who've been with me a while, like beginning of April, the end of March, beginning of April, and there are many of you who have. I used to read from a memoir I'm writing called Left Hand Lemonade, which is about my hand, it's about so many things, my hand recovery and my childhood with music, and a whole bunch of themes in that relate to each other. And at the beginning of each chapter, I write a quote, an inspirational quote that's from me, it's not from someone else. And so what I'd like to hear from you while I get ready for this next piece, if you could post a 1 in the comments, if you would like to have those quotes, and I'll give you an example in a second, for its own track, like its own track, there's just a quote that's a sentence or two sentences, and one of them is, I am not going to be okay, because I am going to be so much better than okay. And then I write on that, and the story is that when I fell, 2 minutes later, my friend who was with me said to me, "You're going to be okay." And I said, "No, I'm screaming in pain." And I saw my finger that looked like it had fallen off my hand. I said, "No, I'm not going to be okay." And it was so, I'm usually pretty positive, as you know, and it was so uncharacteristic of me. And I later realized in therapy, you know what? I'm not going to be okay, because I'm going to be so much better than okay. So I'd like to hear what you want. Would that be disruptive to have those quotes as verbal talks in tracks in between the music, or would you like that? So while I get ready for the Scriabin, if you could let me know in the comments with a 1 if you would prefer that. And I'm deciding on that, and I will take your feedback. Elena says 1, fantastic. And I'm pulling up my Scriabin, and we'll see who else says 1. So I am moving on to 2 pieces. These last 2 were arrangements for left hand. These next 2 are originally written for left hand. So Scriabin wrote a not early opus. Opus just means a chronological listing of a composer's work. Opus 9 is early in Scriabin's life, and he wrote this in 1894, Russian Romantic. And the Prelude and the Nocturne, 2 of the most beautiful pieces I've ever played for either hand. And as always, this is from heart to heart, write your feelings that you're experiencing as you listen to this. By the way, this first one is also on the Dog album, so it's on my zenpet.com. What's going to be the Dog album now is a preview of the Dog album. I don't know if you could hear, if the mic picked up, but Gina was snoring during the Bach Brahms, so she will definitely be snoring during this. And I forgot I wasn't going to keep her near me when I was recording, but I cannot play the piano without her by my side, so it really helps me. You might just get some snoring, and if your dogs are snoring at home, it's all good. Nocturnal is nighttime, and John Field was the Irish composer that started writing nocturnes, piano pieces by themselves. Chopin, of course, wrote gorgeous, famous for beautiful, beautiful nocturnes. And there's so many. There's Scriabin, there's so many. I have had 3 nocturnes written for me by one composer who you may know if you run Dog Agility. If you run Dog Agility, give me a 1 in the comments there. And Zach Gulaboff Davis, I don't know if you're here. If you're here, please let's give him a applause and floating emojis and in your comments. So Zach is an AKC agility judge, and I run agility, which is a very, very fun sport. It's like Disneyland for dogs, where you're running your dog, you're the handler, and you're running your dog through an obstacle course. And so Zach and I met on the agility field. While very early on, my hand, I think it was out of a cast, I was playing left hand only, and Zach said to me, would you like me to write a piece for left hand only? And I said, I'd be honored. I've never had a piece written for me. I said, however, at the time, I couldn't use 10 fingers, but I had use of these 3, what we call 1, 2, and 3, the thumb, pointer finger, middle finger for a pianist. And I said, why don't you write the world's first piece for 8 fingers? And Zach is always up for a challenge. He said, sure. And then I said, why don't you write something that tells the story of my hand accident, where I was going along, life was good, everything was fine, and then I had this hand accident, hand injury, where I fell, my finger practically fell off my hand, I had 7 complicated fractures needing 4 surgeries. So you'll hear a big crash in the middle of this, and it builds up a lot of intensity around that, and then it comes through that, it starts very minor, and it comes through that to this most gorgeous, serene, heavenly, major section, which is the light, which is there's hope, there's recovery, there's blessings in all life experiences, no matter how tragic they seem at the time, and that's been one of my main lessons through this. I've played this here, I told you that it took me a while before I could play it without tears, and Zach, if you're there, stand up at home and take some applause at the end, because you deserve them. And then there's 2 others he's written for me, only one I've played publicly, which he really wrote for dogs, In the Stillness of Night, and another I will be playing soon. Nocturne for 8 fingers, maybe the world's first piece for 8 fingers that we know of, by Zach Gulaboff Davis. Zach, thank you. I'm so honored. Oh, and it's still so emotional for me. One of the reasons even more so now is because I can't remember what I used to be limited by my right hand. So there are things that I'm playing, I know I'm taking so much more with my right hand than I used to be able to do. And I just love that. I'm so honored. And those floating emojis really are for you. I don't know if you're here now, and if you're not, you'll listen later. I'm sure you always do. Thank you for that. Again, lots of emotions, and you're falling asleep. So is Gina. Here, I hear her snoring. Adam, are you picking up Gina snoring? It's just life. It's my life anyhow. She's always by my side. She's a good girl. Moving on to something that's going to wake you up if you were sleepy. This is lively. It's fun. It's a Gigue. This is from a set of 6 pieces for left of my Saint-Saëns, a French composer, and this is, and I saw Evelyn, yes, it's very, very special. I'm honored, first, really just so touched. A set of 6 pieces, this is the last one, a Gigue, is very fun. It's a lot of jumps. So if you can imagine, a pianist has normally 10 fingers, 88 keys to cover. When you have 5 fingers and 88 keys to cover, you've got twice the distance to jump. And a couple of those sections in Zach's piece had me jumping all over. I was going back and forth, and a couple of sections in this piece, which is very, very exposed, has me jumping all over. There are times with the left-hand music where when you see me do, I don't know if you can see, when I grab the right hand, the right part of the piano, it's because I'm leaning over so far I might fall over. And anyhow, this is a really fun, lively piece. This will wake you up, the Gigue by Saint-Saëns. Fun and short, and I just realized I forgot to put that in the program. So after we're done, I will add exactly what that is. So if you want to look that up, you can. 2 more very short pieces, and and maybe the most challenging on the program. Stacy's here from El Granada, and thank you. This is The first Chopin I ever learned was the Aeolian Harp Etude, and that is Chopin wrote 24 etudes, 24 studies. Each one is in a different technical practice. It's very, very challenging, but they're meant for the concert stage. Godowsky, another Polish composer, came around and rearranged those. Each one of the 24 etudes has 5 or 6 arrangements, and I think he did about 6 of them for left hand only. This one, when I learned it, it took about 6 months before the notes felt like they turned into music. And when I was first learning it, I played it. I was at a party. I was actually at a TEDx event. I just had heard Marianne Williamson and some other wonderful speakers, and there was a piano in the room, and lots of noise and drinking and partying going on. I thought, I'm just going to sit down and play this. And it was under tempo. It was very new. And this UC Berkeley student came up to me and said, "Why do you play it so slowly?" And my answer was, because sometimes it takes maturity to know that life is not a race. And this piece has been a welcome challenge, not nearly as easy as I thought it was going to be, because I've played the Chopin arrangement since I was 11, but well worth it. And while I know we're running a little over, I need to rest my arm for about another minute. So while I am doing that, I would love to know if you have any questions about any of the music. I know some of you have requested that and if I can't see the questions now, I will go back later and answer them. But some of you have requested that you want, what is going through my head? Carol asked that, Jerry has asked that. What is going through my head when I perform? So I'll give you a really short answer for now, which is, it used to be pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, when I did concerts, and I had recording engineer, I had photography, I had anything else going on technical, I always told people, do not tell me anything I need to remember an hour before I'm going to perform, because I will not remember it. You could tell me, enter stage right, I just, like, nothing, particularly anything technical, I wouldn't remember. And boy, have things changed, because everything is technical now. When Adam saw me setting up the lights in the room and the camera and doing the test and the Facebook Live test, now that he's like, God, you really do run a one-woman show of what you can see in the room. And the first live concert I did, March 28th, I went for a hike. I always do. I always get out in nature. So usually it's a hike with Gina in the early afternoon. And I prayed. And I said, normally, in my previous life, pre-pandemic, I had never had experience of combining my right and left brain and having that kind of pressure. And I just prayed, and I turned it over to God, universe, whatever you want to call it, and I said, I can handle the right brain, and you can handle the left. And tonight is the marriage of the two, and I know that this is taken care of. You've got me. And I don't need to worry about all the technical details. They're handled. I mean, I do need to worry about them ahead of time and prep. They're handled. And since then, I've gotten more and more comfortable with the technical end of it. And I also have to not let go. I have to let go of thinking about it while I'm performing. In the last 24 hours, a lot's happened that you didn't know about with technical challenges, which is when I ended up back on Facebook Live. And I just kept asking myself, what is the simplest thing? What can I do to stay connected to my music and stay connected with my audience, my following, with you, and play on? And the answer was obvious. It was Facebook Live. It's what I'm experienced at. I will break out and get some new equipment and do crowdcasting. It's a great platform. I just wasn't ready for it yet. And sometimes I overestimate what I can do in a short period of time. And the things that go through my mind, I recorded myself. It's for a class I taught online called Winning the Musician's Mind Game. I did an audio visualization, a guided visualization. That's an audio track called, I'm blanking, but it's about it's called Inspired Performance. So it's about a 5-6 minute guided visualization where I take myself through the aspect of sitting at the piano, going through this turning this over, knowing that I'm just the vehicle for expressing this music, and that's my job. That's what I love to do more than anything else in the world. And so my job is playing from heart to heart my music, sharing that with you. That's what goes through my mind. And then just letting go, knowing I've done all the work, even if I didn't practice that piece enough yesterday. I've been practicing for 50 years, 51 years to be exact. I've done enough prep. And it's just letting go of all that and letting the music speak. And that's what I enjoy the most. And having you experiencing that is really icing on the cake. Now I will play the Godowsky's arrangement, probably the hardest piece I've ever played, for one or two hands. My left hand gets quite the workout from that. And Erica, when you joined us as well, thank you so much. You have all been so supportive. One more piece. Thank you for the hearts. And I'm so honored. you really, if you're on my mailing list, you got this email saying, you know this, you have been such an enormous part of my right hand recovery. I know you're not hearing my right hand tonight, but I do play with my right hand a lot. And it's this series that I started and you joined that has gotten me, did all Chopin programs with two hands and so much music. I took out the Rachmaninoff Second Sonata the other day. It's one of the hardest pieces I haven't touched in 20 some odd years. And I couldn't believe it. My right hand could actually play a lot of it. I was thrilled. Rachmaninoff. It's like Rachmaninoff had huge hands. My whole challenge has been about extension. And I was over the moon I could play this. It's not ready to be performed, but I could start working on it without it hurting my hand, which is just fantastic. And you've all been so supportive. I've had people ask, how can you help with this? So I have created rewards for you, everything from a thank you note when this album gets produced, Left Hand Lemonade, a thank you note to the website, to a CD, to multiple CDs, to private piano lessons with me online or in person, to private concerts I can arrange for you that could be either for dogs or for people. And Star, I imagine you've already dropped that link. If you could do that again, maybe you just put up, that would be great, to the rewards. And there it goes basically from a note to a minuet, to a sonata, to a trio, to a concerto, to a symphony. And I just really appreciate your support so I can continue doing this series. I've never asked for, it's always been free. I'm going to close with one of my favorites, and this is also something I've shared here. It's a Gershwin arrangement of The Man I Love that was arranged by my Juilliard professor, Earl Wild. And I used to play this for two hands, and then I didn't know until my hand injury that his original arrangement of this was for left hand only. You'll recognize this, The Man I Love. And I know we're over, so we'll just consider this the encore. He is still snoring. Thank you. If you could, thank you so much.